All right, today we have Coach Tatum, offense coordinator at Walkertown High School, and he also has his own YouTube channel and stuff like that. He does bigger things than I do, so he's out there doing that stuff. So, Coach, thanks for being here.
Yeah, man, appreciate you having me. I've been watching your show for a while, man, and interactions on Twitter and all that stuff. Love what you're doing. Appreciate you having me on, and just the conversations, man. Document history right here.
Hey, I'm sorry you have to keep watching my stuff. It's not the most well put together. It's by the seat of my pants. Just kind of.
Yeah, well, I love the clips. Like you're one of the best people to do clips, like of what your show is, and whether it be on social media or coming on and just watching it whole. I love it. Right, if you want to catch a topic or catch something that was funny on the show, I love you being able to watch the clips as well.
Well, can I tell you a secret? I cheat. I have AI do it for me.
Hey, I do the same thing. Trust me, I do the same thing. Do the same thing.
Don't tell my wife that I use the credit card to buy that AI, but it's not expensive. But I was like, because I tried it. I tried to do the clips myself, but it's if you record like a 45-minute episode to go back and rewatch it, and I'm not the brightest person, so I'm like, is this really a clip? Should it be a minute? Should it be 30 seconds? But then AI does it for me and names it, and I'm like, whatever, and and go. If it's big enough where I know, then I'll do it myself. But it's especially during football season, if I'm trying to do stuff, I have no time. And then when you do have time to sit and do nothing, that's what I want to do, is sit and do nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want to worry about things that AI can help you with, and I think there's pros and cons to it. And I think in my district, for teaching at least, they're really driving us to use more AI. So getting versed in that, and really has helped with the social media piece as well. But yeah, I think AI is good, and of course, obviously, there's the bad, but I think it's really good and helps us be more efficient.
It helps me with just organizing stuff. Our head softball job's probably going to be open, so I'm going to go for it. And I have my stuff down, but I just want to make sure it's organized well. It does. If you put it in there, say, hey, organize this, and it just takes it and moves it. Yeah. I'm like, this is what it's for. It's not for typing my whole resume for me. It's just making sure it's in the right, or if there's too much and stuff like that. I'm like, this is what it's for. Our kids want to type a whole paper with it. And we're like, no, hold on a second. Or math, I don't know if you guys have this. We have a thing called Go Guardian. We can block all sites.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. They go to math and they go straight to AI, and they get mad. I just straight up block Google. I was like, I'm blocking Google. I'm done. And they get so mad.
Yeah. I do it so it locks everything, but I want what I want them to do.
Right.
And so and I know the websites they need to get Clever and stuff like that to, get the canvas or whatever. And they're like, they're trying this website and trying that website. Like, guys, I have blocked the whole internet. So don't try anything. I have allowed you to do this. I'm not, they're used to some teachers being like, they're going to block Cool Math games or they're going to block YouTube. Like, no, I've blocked the whole thing. You can only do this. They're like, oh man. So what you're supposed to do.
Before I figured that out, I cannot tell you the amount of free movie websites I have blocked. Yeah. I'll see them on one and I block it. 2 minutes later, they're on another one. And finally, the fifth one, I said, how do you know these exist? And they're like, don't worry about it. I'm like, isn't this illegal? And they're like, don't worry about it. I couldn't believe it.
We're on our school computer. We don't care. So yeah, I guess.
Or the scariest one is then we have a phone chart, so they got to put their phones in when they walk in. Mm-hmm. They'll just message each other on Google Chat.
Yeah.
So finally, one day we were like, our tech department can go in and retrieve all messages you guys have sent, and they start sweating. They're like, what? And I said, yeah. And if I have Go Guardian up, I can screenshot what you have just said.
Yeah.
And send it if I think it's this. And they were like, you guys are creeps. I'm like, well, then don't be on it.
Yeah, do what you're supposed to do. Yeah.
And then you try to tell them we all grew up. We have computer labs. We didn't have Chromebooks. We had the book. You guys don't get it.
Mm-hmm. You have everything at your fingertips, and you want to use it for evil.
Yeah, I don't get it. Well, Coach, let's talk about how'd you get into football coaching? What drove you to do that?
Yeah. So, I was a player, in high school, and like most people, I wasn't, that great. I loved the game, and I was good. I was a decent, pretty good high school player. Earned I was able to go to be a preferred walk on at Gardner Webb here in North Carolina. Quickly figured out, hey, you're not an FCS player, right? So,
Yeah.
probably was more of a Division III guy, and I had those opportunities. But one thing that stood out to me, I had one opportunity to play D3. And my junior and senior year of high school, I was doing roll at the community college, and I took all my gen eds, so I was technically going to school as a sophomore. And they were like, "No, we're not going to honor your credits. You have to take a placement test." Well, me being an idiot, I don't do well on tests, right? Okay, so I'm not going to let the last 2 years of my life be for nothing if I fail these placement tests. So I didn't go to that school, which sucked because I think I'd done pretty decent there. But so I went to Gardner Webb, and like I said, found out I was not like these rest of these guys, but I had a great time. I made some lifelong friends. But one of my mentors, Kenny Ray, he was the offensive line coach there. He was like, well, you want to get into coaching, because I was I've always wanted to coach, and he was like, why don't you just be my student assistant? And so I got some work study, and I worked under him. Right, I was setting up meeting rooms. I was breaking down film with him. He taught me how to do that, and how to watch film, and I was filming practices and games. Got to travel with the team, and great opportunity, right? Learn a ton as an 18, 19-year-old kid, and then I decided to come home. So I played my first year. I worked for him the second year, and so going in my junior year, came home and started coaching. I started substitute teaching at the middle school my mom worked at, and I would coach the middle school team. And if anybody has coached middle school ball, like you're up for sainthood. Like it's not easy. And I've said this before. Like I think everybody should at least coach middle school or 1A football at some point in their career, because it lets you have to become very efficient. You have to become very you do things without resources. And so it makes, when you have resources, it makes you a better coach. So yeah, I coached the middle school team, and then I coached the team that I played for. Was a private program out of the Greensboro area. And so I coached middle school, the JV, and the varsity of that private school. So, I was coaching 3 different squads. I did it for 4 years, all for free. And so I would substitute, coach middle school, drive about 45 minutes to Greensboro, coach both of them all the way till like 8 o'clock at night, and then drive home. And so that was before I was married. So hadn't have much going on. So
I was going to say that.
Yeah, so but it taught me a lot, right? It taught me how to be organized. Like I said, it's 3 different squads, right? Coaching offensive line, and got pretty good at being organized and having what works with this group is not going to work with this group, because it's 3 different at that point, 3 different squads, lineups, and so having to keep everything good really helped me with that development. And then decided to get spread my wings and went to Virginia Beach. Really good 6A, ball out in Virginia Beach. And I went from coaching those middle schoolers and private schoolers to now having 5 senior offensive linemen in my position group and 6A. And it was a culture shock, right? I'm going from kids that I'm having to get into a stance and they look like a frog, to guys that have been doing it for 4 years, right? And so it was huge, right? And COVID happened. They came home, went to North Rowan High School outside of Charlotte. That was 1A. So I got my middle school, my private school, and my 1A all, and my 6A all in like the same amount of time. So coached there for about 3 years. And that's where I started, working with my head coach, the big mentor of mine, Nigel Pearson. He was the offensive coordinator at South Carolina State, offensive lineman there. And we really started to develop the run game. That's where a lot of stuff that I believe in came from, because we collaborated on a lot of that stuff, and had a really good quarterback that was very athletic. So we developed a lot of QB run game, a lot of the bash stuff that I put on my Twitter. We developed a lot of that stuff there. And we did a lot of good things on offense. And we coached the all-time passer, rusher, and receiver all in the same 3 to 4 years in school, like record holders in school history. So did a lot of things on offense. And now I'm at Walkertown, outside the Winston-Salem area, for those that know North Carolina. And been here going into my 3rd year. So really good stuff we've been doing. But yeah, just coaching in general, I've always wanted to be a coach, right? I had, those early influences like everybody. You you want to get into the development piece, the scheme piece, the mentor piece, right? So it's really good. It's one of the best professions in the world, man, and I'm blessed to do that.
Yeah, I knew when I was like 14, 15. I was like, this is what I'm doing, because I saw our head coach having so much fun. I was like, Mom, Dad, this is what I'm going to do. And they were like, go for it. And that's all. That's been that way ever since.
Mhm.
Kind of like you, I walked on to like Eastern, and I was like, yeah, this is not for me. This is
Yeah.
not. I was too small, actually. I walked in at 6'5", 275, and they're
Mhm.
like, you're too small, man. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, you're too small to be like an offensive lineman. So they were like, if you can get to 315, yeah, we can. And you would think eating, like, I love to eat. So you're like, this is awesome. I get to eat. And you just kept eating and eating, but you're working out. And I missed that metabolism of like, well, I'm not putting the weight on. And now I would take anything for that metabolism to come back. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
uh, trying to lose weight when I'm old is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So in North Carolina, you said 1A ball. Like, what's the enrollment from like all the classes in North Carolina?
Yeah. So traditionally we're 1 through 4, and so 1A is I think it goes up to about maybe 500, 600 kids. So from whatever the smallest is to that is 1A, and then it goes obviously it goes through 4. Now with our new realignment, we just realigned this off season. We're actually going to 8A. We have 8 classifications, which is crazy, but so it's a little more spread out. So now the 1A is like 300 kids right in the building. We were traditionally, we're at Walkertown now. We were 2A. Now we're 3A in the new alignment. We have about 650 kids in the school. Yeah, but North Carolina is so strange, and I don't know why they went to 8A. But you have Virginia that goes to 6. South Carolina's technically 6, but it's a 5A, 5AA. It's strange. They go 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, 5AA. Well, I just call it 6, but it is what it is. And then Georgia, and then Tennessee, we're all the same technically size. I don't know why we just stick with 6, but yeah, we're 8. But yeah, if you want to learn how to coach some ball, right? You can't get away with just giving it to your best player. You got to be able to coach some guys up, because you can get exposed. The 1A level is definitely where it's at.
Right. Yeah. In Illinois, there's 8. It's always been 8. Because someone I had on here asked me how many high schools were in Illinois, and I forget the number. It's hundreds and hundreds of schools.
Yeah.
Like, we get 256 that make the playoffs from 1A to 8A.
Yeah.
Kind of like you, were like my high school, we were 2A when I was playing, and we had 325 kids in the school, but we co-opted with another school for football, so we have to add that enrollment, so it made us 3A, which sucked because you only got like 10 to 15 kids to play football from that other school. So it's like, to get 10, 15 kids, you jump up a whole other class.
Yes.
But since I've left that school, they've bounced around from 2A to 1A. Just kind of, it all depends on who makes the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because we play 9 regular season games, and if you go 5-4, you still may not make it. It just depends on your playoff points. So they go by strength of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
If you're 6-3, you get an automatic all the way up. So then they take the enrollment and go. So sometimes it fluctuates. So I've coached, like you, same thing, like 2A ball. Then when I was in college, I was coaching at the high school there. They were 4A. There was like 800 kids. Then when we moved up to the suburbs, first school I worked at was 2,200 kids. And I'm like, I didn't know there were schools with 2,200 kids.
Yeah.
And we made the playoffs that year. We were 8A. Then I went to another school the very next year, 4,000 kids in the school. And you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then the school I'm at now, we're 1,900 kids. So we're 7A, which I couldn't believe, like, going from 2A all the way up and 4A to 7A, 8A, of like what the difference is. Because in Central Illinois and stuff, there's only 1A to probably 6A. I didn't know anything. And I always tell people this: a school in our conference, it's 2 high schools that feed into one team.
Mhm.
If they ever made the playoffs, they'd be the biggest school in Illinois because it's 8,000 kids,
Wow.
4,000 in each school. And I'm like, my town growing up only had like 1,000 people. Like, this is your guys' school could fit all these towns where I grew up.
Mhm.
I couldn't believe it. And anyway, so when you kept moving up classes, I know football's football, like, and you have to be humbled by coaching small schools. Was there a big difference going from small school to big school, or was it just football's football?
Yeah, it was. I think there's the obvious things, right? When you work in the school building, right, there's going to be those type of things. Coming from working in a middle school, I went straight to a 6A high school, and we had 3,000 students, and so working in that building, it was like being at the mall. It was like people
Uh-huh.
everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And I'm used to it's not that many, maybe 500 kids, right, at a middle school. And so, yeah, that was a big game changer. But football wise, you have a little more kids, right? And we were 6A, and we weren't like we were okay. We weren't a great team, and so you might have 70 kids on a team.
Mhm.
You could be more, but I'm coaching offensive line. I'm gonna have the kids regardless. You're hoping to get 15, on the varsity, especially at that level. And so working with 15 kids, I mean I'm worried about mine. Right, I'm worried about my 15 kids, not worried. And then the JV is the JV. I coach them too, but I'm not worried about the 70, 75 other kids, right? So I'm just worried about my guys. So it wasn't that big of a deal. I guess the biggest thing was more competition, right?
Right.
In the Virginia Beach area, like they're very prideful. Like they have a lot of guys that come out of that, like EJ Manuel played at Florida State. Like he went to Bayside, and Percy Harvin, everybody knows him. He went to Lansdowne, and then in that whole region, like Michael Vick came from that area. Allen Iverson came from that area. So everybody has all this history and these stories, and so the competition is great. Like people want to play athletics. So that was more of a shock than being from like a smaller town, because I am from a smaller town, even though I played private school ball in a bigger city. But going out there and being like the passing leagues in the summer, and different rules for spring, and getting into the camp, and the crowds you draw, all that stuff. That was definitely a bigger shock to me.
Mhm. Yeah. I think that the big shock was the kind of the same thing here in Illinois when I was 2A. You had to be creative how you practice because everybody played both ways. Like
Mhm.
you said, a big thing I learned was, hey, this small school might have two or three dudes on their team. Like these are the three dudes. You go to a bigger school, they might have eight or nine. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, they've got eight or nine dudes that are split. So there's some of them are on defense or offense, and those are the dudes. Or they play, or those only eight play both ways, and the rest kind of fill in. And again, like the numbers, the school was Lombard East, it was 2018. I remember he was like, "Hey, you're going to be the second O line coach. There's going to be two of you," and I'm like,
Mhm.
"I've never had." I wasn't in charge. It was the other guy, was the assistant guy, but he was like, "I was like two of us." He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." And I'm so used to coaching offense and defense. I said, "So what do I coach on defense?" And he goes, "You don't. You just coach offense." And I said, "What?"
Mhm.
And it was a college style practice where this half the field was offense, this was defense, and it was the best. I was in shock. And he goes, "Yeah, a lot of schools up here do that," and I couldn't believe it. But the school I'm at now, there's 1,900. We'll be lucky if we roll in on a varsity team with 40 kids. That's
Yeah.
just kind of what it is. So we still have to get creative. So we have to take that small town feel of, for the first hour, 45 minutes is offense, the next is defense, and move on.
Mhm.
So even, and I asked other schools around us, they're like, "Oh yeah, we still practice like that. We don't have 100 kids. We still only have 80 kids total in the whole program." And because one thing we're seeing is football kind of taking a hit right now
Yeah.
because of specializing in sports is happening. Um, the travel sports is happening, and it's baseball and basketball. Those are the two killers right now. And is that happening there too? Is this,
It
or is it?
depends. Yeah, we have, I would say, right now we're in summer and we've got about 60 kids right now in the summer, which is great for our level. It doesn't happen. I
Mhm.
think just based off of the culture, and we went 8-4 last year and did a lot of great things. So there's a lot of interest has happened. But out of our 65 kids, I would say probably 80% are dual sport athletes. And some of them are tri-sport athletes. So, because it happens when you're in a small school. Yeah, but there's some guys that really should be playing football that play just strictly basketball or even just run track. Right, we have a really good track program, and so they just run track, which is disappointing. Because the track coach coaches with us, but they just focus right, and but it's what happens. It's not as prevalent where we are. But yeah, I would say probably in the bigger cities. Remember the Raleighs or the Charlottes, or out in the mountains, their Asheville, stuff like that. It happens. In really, if you're going to specialize, especially in a baseball or a basketball, they usually go to private school, right? They go to the local, whatever Christian school or whatever Catholic school, and they go and play the basketball there. Because traditionally, North Carolina's a basketball state.
Mhm.
Just because it's the ACC and all that stuff. Even though football is king, I still think that, and it shows with numbers, attendance, and all that stuff. But I say we're a football state, but traditionally it's basketball. So it happens. But I would say no. If you're an athlete, you're probably playing football, which is nice. But you're going to have those outliers that you're going to have that 6'1" basketball player that would be a Division I corner. He's out there with his hoop dream, and that happens everywhere. So yeah, I think specialization. Now there's certain guys they should specialize, right? Like football ain't for you, right? You don't gotta get killed. But yeah, I think you play as many more sports as you can, and any college coach will tell you that play as many sports as you can because they want to see you compete in multiple areas. So definitely don't specialize in it's an epidemic, right? Specialization from travel ball to AAU to showcase, all these different type of things, clubs. It's just happening more and more, and it's sad.
Yeah, I got in an argument with one of my buddies one time because I don't hate travel sports and stuff. I just think it's blown up and it's gotten so out of control and it's become this money grab because I don't think parents understand that if you're paying $4,000 and you're on the BC team, that money is actually paying for like the A team to travel. Like your money is paying for another kid to travel. I don't think they get that.
Yeah.
And if we try to tell them, we're like, well, blah, 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 it's like we don't know what we're talking about. And I'm like, no, 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 like we kind of do. And then I think youth and travel got started in the right direction or for the right reasons. I think way back when it was guys like us, like we coach high school, then we're going to do this on the side. Like you're trying to just do whatever. Now, since it's a money grab, it's just blown up. And then they get told at a young age, hey, you're a Division I
Yeah.
player. And that's true for some, but I don't think, what is it, like 7% actually get to Division I? Like they don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they get told Division I, they get recruited by FCS, Division II, Division III, and they snub their nose at it. And I'm like, look, if you really want to play, those are really good basketball, football teams.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it's really funny. We're in Addison Trail, and Naperville is like 18 minutes away, and that's where North Central College is. They've won 3 national titles in the last like 5-6 years. I can't remember. Some of our kids in the past have snubbed their nose at that, and we're like, "Do you want? We'll take you to a practice and show you like what it is."
Yeah.
And I don't get it, but they get told such at a young age, like you have to only do baseball, you have to only do basketball, and I think it's because you can travel in those sports. Football is the one that you can't. Um, and I think the concussion thing didn't help. And I think football is just they look at it as like a hard thing to do, and I'm like, yeah, it is. It is hard to do, but I played all 3 sports, and I can tell you right now, I got more hurt in basketball, rolled my ankle, did this, did that, than I did in football.
Yeah. And I always say, if you're playing hard and you're doing what you're supposed to do, most of those guys don't get hurt in football. No. Right? It's the ones that, are timid or aren't experienced and they're not sure what's going on, they get hurt. So that's why parents, please put your kids in youth sports. Let them play. Like, especially when they're younger, they're not generating enough force to hurt somebody. They're really not, right? Now,
Right.
you want to have the conversation about youth coaches. That's different, but and what the youth scene looks like now. But they don't start until their freshman year to play football. That's where we've issues run into, and I it happens every year. We get kids, they're freshmen. They come in, and me trying to get them into a stance. It's tough. It's tough because they're not being taught those things. Either one, they didn't play, so it's the first time they're ever doing it, or they're playing, youth league, because in my county we don't have middle school football. They youth, not AAU, but Pop Warner Youth League, it trumps everything. Right. So and there are some good coaches down there, but vast majority it is let's give it to the fastest kid and let him run, right? And so the linemen, especially for me, the linemen aren't coached, and I had a rant with some of my buddies, and I'm like, I got one kid, big kid. He's not just fat and sloppy. He actually looks really good. He's a freshman, but he couldn't get in a stance. I'm like, so I spent my, like, when we did JV offense, my whole individual period was nothing but stance. We'll do stance and stuff, and which is and I'm 1 week into it, and that's all we've done. Right, we installed one play, and we have done nothing but stance and steps. And I'm like, I told my head coach, I'm like, it's not that it's bad. It's just it's different. Like, we don't have there's not fundamentals being taught at lower levels, like it should be, especially up front. And then even on the outside, receivers, they're taught to run fades and bubbles, and they can do that like a champ. And then running backs, they're taught just to get the ball, right? They're not how to take a handoff and just get the ball and run. So development down at the lower levels, but that does not all that to be said. You still need to have your children play in lower levels, because when they get to me, they need to have some type of contact, right? And not be timid, and know that, hey, if I'm delivering a hit versus taking one, it doesn't feel as bad, right?
Right.
And then you fall in love with it. Hey, man, that contact feels good. Let's go. At that point. So, but at the lower levels, as it builds, so it's not going from 0 to 100. You're going from 10 to 35 to 45 to 55, and all right to 100. And so the speed is not as bad. So they're used to it. Build up those calluses, build up the experience, and so definitely get your kids out there early, man. Don't let it be like, oh, now they're in high school, so now I'm gonna let them play. Like, you're way behind everybody that's been playing.
And the devil's advocate flip side of that, what we're dealing with is, a lot of parents are trying to do that, but then they don't like the organization, because like our middle school doesn't have football; it's the youth organization. They don't like that because my son doesn't play. Not saying that they're good, but they don't play.
Yeah.
Or they get, because the people running it, all they care about is winning. Like, that's all they care about. And then, like, what we're dealing with is, you would think the youth program would be about the high school, right? Like, okay, we're for Addison Trail, that's what it's for. But our youth program brings kids from all over. So now you're competing with a kid and playing with a kid that you're not going to play with. So the parents get upset about that. So they're like taking their kid out, and it leads to they never come back in high school, like never come back. Or like you said, they do come back. Now they're kind of behind in those, not the plays, not the X's and O's, because as you know, like our kids, when I meet with them next week, they're going to forget a lot of things. Like we don't, but they do.
Yeah.
Basketball, we started this week. We started going over some things. They forgot. Like, it just happens. But when it comes to like speed, when it comes to movement, when it comes to flexibility, they're going to be way behind. How to tackle, how to hit somebody. And again, it's the same thing of this travel sports, because the youth ones, all they care about is winning. That's all they care about all of a sudden. And it shouldn't be that way. I understand you want to win, and yes, you'll find ways to win, but you also have to find ways to play everybody.
Yeah. And
it's just become a big, like ours is big on social media. They get these new jerseys. They get more jerseys than we do. Like, we have our jerseys for 4 or 5 years. They get one every year. And it's just because, like, they want to get to Florida and play for the championship, and it's a cool experience. I'm like, it is a cool experience. I'm not denying that, but you have to find a way to like keep kids around, because ultimately the high school level is the one that people remember. Like, cool, you won a title at 7th grade. That's cool. When you get to high school, we're going to be like, That's cool. But you're about to play against these high schools that did not go do that, and they're going to beat you just because whatever.
Yeah.
And it's sad that that's kind of what it's gotten to.
Yeah, and I think I teach middle school, so I'm in that building. Like we share a building, our middle school and high school in the same building. And so I'm such an advocate of middle school athletics because if you coach, let's say we obviously I said we don't have middle school football, so let's say a middle school that has football. If the head coach at that middle school is a good person, good teacher, they're not getting fired. It's middle school football, right? So they have the time to teach. They have the time to, whether it be they're running with the high school runs, they have time to teach the fundamentals. But that youth ball, like you said, it's all about winning. It's all about get the best player the ball. It's all about swapping kids, all that type of stuff. And there's no teaching being done. That's why there's levels to it. There should be, in my opinion, my perfect world, there should be youth ball up to middle school age. So I know some people don't do sixth grade middle school football. That's fine. So from whatever age to sixth grade, you have youth ball. Cool. Go run around and hit. Seventh grade, you come into the middle school. Seventh and eighth grade, you play middle school ball, and then you're ready to go to the high school. That's the perfect model. But it's just I feel like it's crumbling. Especially like I said, in our county, we don't have it. So there's 1,000 youth teams. It feels like, and it's not like there's a town north of here that they have a youth ball, middle school, high school. It is linear, right? And Reidsville is they've won 21, 22 state championships in our state, like perennial powerhouse. They're in our conference. I see them every year. It's great. But they have vertical alignment. Like the youth ball runs what the middle school does, the middle school runs what the high school does, and they are a factory. That's the perfect model. But we can't see past winning and the cool stuff and trading kids and all about being awesome on social media to see that hey, that works. What we're doing is just we're in Winston-Salem. We have 50 youth teams and the talent spread so thin and we're not teaching anything that's not working. And so when they get to the next level, the ones that are great are going to be great regardless. And then the ones that are, mid-tier down, they're getting lost and they're having to be retaught and they're just behind.
One thing that's kind of getting big around here is flag football. So they're doing flag from like first, second grade almost up to like fifth, sixth grade. Then they put on the pads seventh, eighth grade, and then it just kind of continues into high school. And we're in the works of trying to figure out if we can't do a spring for the middle school and grade schools and be like, hey, in the spring, there's flag football. But like, it takes time. So as we're already coaching high school ball and stuff, do we have time for that? Like I coach football, basketball, and softball. Like I don't have time for that. Then you got to have like if you were in our middle school, we would ask you like, hey, are you coaching anything in the spring? No. Could you do this? Cool. Like there's a football coach there. But then also, I don't know if it's happening there either. We can't find coaches. Like the last couple of years, we've had stipends, like paid spots. And it's taken months to be like, can you commit to this? And they're not teachers. They're outside the building, which is fine. Like we'll work around it. Like, if you can't get there till 4, we'll make sure offense or defense doesn't start till then. Or like by the time you get there at 4, we're done with our special teams. Like, don't worry about it. And here's a stipend. And we just can't. We cannot find coaches. It's gotten worse every year.
It's tough to find coaches at the high school level. So going down to middle school, it's not as glamorous all that stuff to a coach, and so I could definitely see it being difficult. I know some I forget what state. One state they do their middle school football in the spring. Everything's backwards, and so the high school coaches can kind of have their hands on it, which is I think it's really cool. It's really interesting idea. So now they're going from spring middle school football into the summer, right? There's no carryover. There's no, and so they just, but I think baseball goes to fall. It's different. But I don't think it will work most places, but I think it's different. It kind of just lets them go straight into the summer. You already have your hands on them, and then they come straight to your program at the high school. But yeah, but finding coaches is difficult. We were we had a coach that left us, take an opportunity, and so we're trying to replace him, and it was like pulling teeth. Like, and it was a paid job. It was a paid spot, right? It's not like, hey, come volunteer. You know, it was a paid spot. We still couldn't find it. So it's not getting any easier. That's unfortunate. And it was a skill player. It was a skill position, which usually it's the lineman you can't find, lineman coaches you can't find. It's usually 1,000 DB wide receiver coaches you can get. So
I was about to say that. Like I told you, I don't know if I said it when we recorded. I was in Central Illinois, moved up to the suburbs. When I moved up to the suburbs, I knew nobody, like no really coaches. You know, back then in like oh my God, what year would it have been? 2018.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, Twitter was big, but I wasn't paying attention. I had to start over again. So the school I got at, yeah, I want a second O-line coach. Then when I went to my next high school, I really needed an O-line coach. When I came to Addison, he goes, I need a real O-line coach. And I remember at the time, there's where I'm at now. I'm like, is there no O-line coaches? Like, and they were like, no. The head coach goes, I did it, and I'm a linebacker. Like, I had to do it. And he's like, it's fun, but I need somebody that's played/coached it for a while. And I'm like, oh, so this is how I get jobs, coaching jobs.
Yes.
I coached O-line.
Yes, I've told people a lot. That's kind of where we've kind of geared what we do with social media and YouTube to coaches, O-line coaches, and run game, because I found more and more that it's such an undeveloped position. Like usually it's the old guy that played back in the day and they know how to coach it. And now coming up now, there's not as many coaches that coach offensive line, and so now it's either I've never done it before, help me, or it's an experienced guy on staff that's like, hey, I trust you. You go take care of those guys. And so, coaching the development, coaching, the unity, all those different the toughness, all those different type of things you need for offensive line play has kind of become lost, because I don't know. I don't really know what it is. I don't. It's a mystery, because offensive line coaches, in my opinion, are some of the best people in the whole world. And so, if you're an offensive lineman, definitely buy into maybe being a coach. One guy was like, yeah, reason there's not that many O-line coaches because the O-line coaches are out, saving the world in other jobs. I was like, well, that's a good idea. It's a good thought. So, but yeah, it's I think it's underdeveloped. If you are a good O-line coach, like I'm just like, okay, right? You're always have a job. Like you can get kids to move people. You're always going to have a job. Because usually no one's firing an O-line coach. They're just awful. It's always easy to find another receiver coach to tell a kid, hey, run this route, right? And they're gonna be able to do it anyway. So,
well, it's same thing like you. I always said, coach something that you never have. So if you played wide receiver, maybe you should coach quarterbacks, linemen, go coach defense, whatever. But maybe dabble in O-line. But somebody's like, why is it? And why does nobody do it? I said, because it's hard. I said, it's really hard. And they're like, what do you mean it's hard? You have to watch all five guys do something at the same time. And if you had a tight end or a wing into it, you're probably watching them too to make sure that that's happening.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I coach receivers. I'm like, yeah, but guess what? You're running mesh. You're watching four people, but they're all doing the same thing. They're both running this mesh. They're doing their whatever. And if the quarterback's throwing it to that side, you don't look at the backside. Like, what if that was pre-snap, whatever it was? You're now doing this. Like I said, during that pass play, I have to watch all five. If there's a stun up front, if they blitz, are they passing it off? What's their footwork? Is their hand placement right? Are they sitting down? And you have to watch it. And I have to have the answer. As soon as that play's over in 2 seconds to 3 seconds, I have to relay like, oh, Johnny slid to the right when he was supposed to go to the left. Like, I have to know that. Or like, well, how do you get beat? And I'm like, man, that defensive lineman really got his hands on, and we allowed, like, you have to be able to have that answer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And my wife asked me one time, she's like, what's your hardest job on game day? And like what you just said is being able to watch all five and 4 out of 5 do it perfect, or, they did their job.
Right.
And the one didn't. And then the head coach, or if I'm making a play call, or I'm asking, hey, where did that come from? Or if I'm just an O-line coach and there's a play caller, he's like, hey, what happened? Or like, where did that come from? Who made the tackle? And you have to be able to give an answer. You can't be like, I don't know. Like,
Or
what do you mean you don't know? That's your job. Like, so you have to be able to focus on it and not just watch the ball.
right, or get the huddle sideline out real quick while while you're on offense, and you're like, oh, hold on, let me check. And yeah, I'll miss things once in a while. Like, where'd that come from? And I think it looks like the C gap, and they're like, oh, it actually came through the B gap, and I'm like, okay, my bad. I'm trying to watch everything.
Yeah. I usually try to watch the point of attack. Where are we vulnerable? Like, if I have one lineman that's not as good, right? I'm trying to watch him because I know these other 4 guys are good. So I'm trying to watch him. Like, hey, what is giving him an issue? Maybe we need to get him some help. Or we're running power, right? So we're going to get a double team on the front side. I need to watch this double team, make sure it gets to the backside linebacker, build this wall, make sure they did good. Because if a guy goes over top, like, I need to be able to communicate, hey, you need to focus on this. You need to get to that guy. So, focusing on, like, what's really important on each play. If you can't see everything, obviously, maybe you don't have the best view. Like, I try to go as far back as I can to get a great angle.
Yep.
And so, and we don't have huddle sideline, so I'm having to take mental pictures, right? And then, I have my backup guys. I'm like, hey, y'all watch too. Like, watch your position, And so if something happens, usually, if a guy's trying to get in, right, he'll tell you, hey, coach, left guard, he whipped on his pass block. Like, I'm like, okay, now I know because he wants to go in. And so, like, it's great information to know. And so, but yeah, being able to relay those things to whoever the play caller is. And if you're the play caller, it's a little easier. But you also have to be able to see everything else too. You got to be able to see safety rotation, how far off the corners are, the running back, is he tired? Okay, let's get a sub in, stuff like that. So it could be a lot, but you got to be able to rely on your help. Like I said, maybe it's backup players, maybe it's your assistant coaches or somebody in the box.
Well, like, I became the OC this year, and I already told our head coach in the summer, I really got to do a better, because I already know what's going to happen. I'm going to put the play in. I'm going to end up watching the box because that's what I do. Mm-hmm. Since I got here during COVID, I've been the O-line coach, so my job is the box. That's where my eyes always go. So sometimes the OC will be like, what happened? And it could be a fumble handoff. And I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't looking there. I'm looking at the box. I'll tell you if it was a bad snap because that's what I'm looking at. So this year, since I'm quarterbacks and the play caller, I'm going to have to look at everything. And so, like, I told my O-line coach, your job's the box. Like, I can't do it. Yeah. Receivers coach, your job has to be this. You're not looking in the box. The farthest you're going to look at is the outside linebacker. Mm-hmm. Running backs coach, you're going to help my O-lineman run with the box and different things. I have to look at the quarterback. I got to see what he's reading. So I'm almost like abandoning the O-line. Like, funny story. So a game this year, our OC had a wedding he was in, and he just couldn't miss it. So, like, Steve, you have to be the OC for this game. I was like, okay. Going into that game, I'm so used. We have 3 or 4 offensive linemen that didn't have to go play defense. So I'd have about 4 come off. The other one had to play on defense. Every game, I always grab them. I have huddle sideline. I'm with the OC. I'm with the O-line. That game, I was like, I couldn't be with the O-line because I had to grab it. I have to look at the whole picture. I was trying to get the quarterback. I was trying to get the running back. I was trying to do this. Halftime, I grabbed the O-lineman, grabbed them all over. And I said, guys, I'm so sorry. I feel like a dad that's just abandoned you guys. I said, but I have everything else to worry about. Mm-hmm. And my veteran O-lineman was like, no, Coach Steve, I got you. Like, I'm trying to help you out. And I'm like, that's the best, is when a player is trying to do it for you. He's my senior center. He was like, don't worry. We get it. Like, we're not upset. We're trying to figure it out and do it. And it was funny because I'm known as, like, I love air raid. I loved Mike Leach. I love all that. So going into the game, I kept joking with the head coach, like, I'm going to pass it like 45 times. He goes, if you pass it more than 20 times, I'm going to fire you or something as a joke.
Yeah.
And I must have blacked out during the whole game. So the guy doing stats for us knows I love the air raid. We win the game. We're on the bus. I get a text message with the stats. And he goes, look at the run. I ran the ball 40 times. 40 times. And he goes, I thought you were an air raid guy. So I told, like, Piscopo and all of them, I was like, I have to turn in my air raid card. Like, I am no longer.
Yeah. You're like, I like the air raid, but I like having my job too. So I'm going to have to run the ball.
Well, that's what I said. I was like, one, our quarterback shoulder was bothering him a little bit. So if I did pass it, it was all like short.
Yeah.
I said, but also I was running the ball for 4 to 6 yards a clip. So I was like, I'd be dumb to not run the ball.
Yeah. Hey, whatever's working. Especially, if you're, if I'm hitting, even Pat's game, like they're just refusing to cover. All right, well, I told my lineman before, like, hey man, they can't cover, anything. Like we're gonna get really good at pass pro this game. And they're like, okay. And then it's like, hey, when it opens up, we're definitely gonna run. So after whatever's working, we're going don't be afraid to call it again and call it again.
Right. I think I ran the same run play over and over, but I would give it eye candy and stuff. So I was like running the same run play. And I remember the players like, why do we keep running this? I was like, because we're getting 4 yards out of it. That's why.
Yeah. They haven't stopped it. Yeah.
And then the moment they did, they adjusted in the third quarter and I couldn't run it. And they were like, coach, we can't run it. I'm like, cool. We're going to run this now.
Yeah.
Like now we can pass it, guys. And so I did pass it a couple times. And then they were like, and then I told them before that week, I said, guys, no offense to our OC. I said, I motion a lot. I want to motion a lot. And I remember in the second quarter, they were like, coach, you weren't kidding about motioning because I motioned like every play.
Yeah.
Like you weren't kidding. And I was like, I tried to tell you.
Yeah.
And that's what's coming into this. Yeah. And coming into this year, I already told them, I was like, guys, I want to motion. I want to move the formation. I want to motion. I want eye candy. I want this. So I said, you guys better be ready to be in shape because we're going to be moving all over the place.
Yeah.
You might have said this earlier. I have dementia, I think, so I might not remember. I'm losing my mind. I'm 34, but I'm probably like 65, and my mind is just shot.
I'm with you.
You're at your place now, become the OC. What's that process like of doing what you want to do, but the head coach may want this, finding common ground, and then going about it from there? Because I think some people think you could just do what you want, but reality is you kind of have to work with your head coach. So what does that look like?
Yeah, so I'm blessed, right? My head coach is the best. He's, one of the best I've ever worked for. And so we collaborate on everything. So we're one-on-one on everything. And especially going to our summer now, he'll text me like, hey, what do you think? And and I'll text him, he's like, good, that's what I'm thinking. And so we're on the same page. So it's a great relationship. Now I have been in places or have had experience where, I want to do this and a different head coach is like, well, I don't know if we can do that, or I don't know if we can do that. And so we kind of got strapped. But yeah, where I'm at now, it's a good relationship. But you just gotta, just communicate, right? Just like, hey, coach, thinking this. What are you thinking? And he's like, yes or no. And then if it's a no, you kind of have that conversation of like, well, why? And it's not like a defiance. It's like, well, why? Tell me why, and so I can kind of figure it out or can fix it. Or hey, maybe this can fix why you don't like this. And so have that communication. You can usually figure out, what you want to do. But I guess one thing I would say is, want to get a little more bigger personnel, but if you don't have the guys to get in bigger personnel, you can't do it. But this year we've got some guys that can get into some bigger stuff. Because last year we were a 20, H-back, team, and 10. But I want everyone to get into some more 21, some tight end, H-back stuff. We lived in that in 23. Because we didn't have a quarterback that could throw it over 15 yards with the spiral. So we had to get a little bigger personnel and get creative with some unbalanced formations, some funky stuff, trades and motions, stuff like that, and had a wildcat guy at quarterback. And so we lived in the 21 personnel world, but now we have a guy that can spin it. And so we're able to, spread it out. And we got some dynamic playmakers. So, but yeah, I definitely want to get back to it. Hey, yeah, we can throw the ball. We can try out 4 receivers that are quality dudes. We can go out and have 3 receivers out, have our H-back dude that is mauling folks. But hey, let's give this funky look, right? It's going to be a good change up for us. So that's definitely, going in this year. I think we're going to be able to get that done. Head coach seems, excited about it. So yeah, it's just you got to kind of figure that out. And let's just say you're taking a job, maybe you're a quality assistant, and now you almost take an OC job somewhere. So now you're interviewing or you're talking to the head coach. If the head coach seems like he wants to put handcuffs on you or be like, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, maybe it's not the spot for you. right? I wouldn't take an OC job just to say you can call plays. Trust me, I was that guy. I want to call plays. That's what I've always wanted to do. It's not always the best because especially when you're not getting to run what you want to run, or maybe your terminology or all this other stuff, you're still going to be responsible. So go to a place where you have full autonomy. You can be able to do what you need to do. And maybe you have to wait for that opportunity, and waiting is fine. Keep learning, right? Keep learning. I'm learning every day. But when you can get in with a place, where you can collaborate with the head coach, or maybe you're not the OC, you can collaborate with the OC. Maybe be a run game guy, right? That's you can always learn under that person, and then maybe if they leave and take a head coaching job, you're the next guy. So I think those things are more valuable than just going, hey, this is a crappy situation. They don't have a ton of talent. That's why the job's open. The head coach is a stickler. He's not gonna let you do this and that because he's used to doing this. He could be a defensive guy, but he's used to always having this. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. That's some good advice that I could give, right? Go to a place where you can do what you want to do. Now, the head coach, it's his program, right? But if he's like, hey, I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm on the defensive side of the ball, I need somebody I can trust to make sure we move the ball and score points, and I trust you, and he likes what you're doing, then go to that spot, right? But yeah, if you're going to be handcuffed, don't do it. It's not great.
I was kind of like that when I was at the second school I was at. A guy took over his very first year. I was coaching track. My high school I was helping out, our head coach was fired, so I went straight to this guy. I said, hey, I want to coach. I'm here coaching track. I'm going to coach basketball. I want to coach football. I just went straight to him. Like, I remember football team was in the weight room. It was he just got the job. I literally busted into the weight room and I said, where's Coach so-and-so? They're like, he's over there. I just walked up to him and I was like, hey, I'm Steve Kaczewski. Nice to meet you. I just went into it. I didn't even care. And I thought it was the worst thing that could happen was the best. He goes, okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow. I said, okay, cool. Next day I come in. He goes, okay, you're going to come on, but you have to volunteer, which people don't understand. You have to volunteer most of the time. He's like, you have to volunteer. I said, that's fine. I said, I'm going to get paid for basketball, track. So this is fine. And and he goes, but you told me you wanted to do O-line, D-line. I said, yeah, that's what I play. That's all I've ever coached. He goes, cool. You're going to do running backs, linebackers. You're going to be the assistant defensive guy with varsity, and you have to call JV defense. And I said, what? I said, but I'm an O-line guy. He goes, that's cool. You're doing running backs, linebacker. And he goes, if you want to be good, you have to do other things. You have to dip your toe in. And I remember I was young. I was 20-something, and I'm like, this is stupid. I remember going to my apartment like, this is stupid. But I sucked it up and did it. And I ended up loving it. And then the next year, he actually left the next year. But in that summer, he was letting me call offensive plays for varsity. So I think he was trying to get me ready. The defensive coordinator took over and he goes, Steve, you're the OC. And I'm like 24. And I'm like, this is awesome. But I was handcuffed. The things he wanted to do, I didn't want to do. Dino Babers was the head coach at Eastern. This is the school right by Eastern. All the rage was snapping the ball in 10 or 12 seconds, getting the play in super fast. And I looked at him and I said, we don't have the kids for it. I said, I'm not comfortable with it. Yeah, I want to play in quick, but I'm okay if the play clock's 40 seconds and we take 25, 30 seconds. I'm okay with that. And he's like, I want 50 formations. I want this. And I said, this is it just became a handcuff situation. So I should have left after that first year. But like you said, I was the OC. I'm the OC. So the next year stayed and did it the next year. And that third time, if they listen, if you stay in that situation, this starts to happen. Like you start to really butt heads. And instead of doing it in the locker room or in your office, it kind of trickles out to your practice, which I was young and dumb and I probably handled things the wrong way, but I would say slight remarks to them. And the players feed off of that. And it was so bad, I was never going to coach again. I was done. Mm-hmm. My girlfriend, now wife, got a job in the suburbs. I actually came up here and I was like, I am not coaching ever again. This is dumb. But I see people practicing, posting things on Twitter. I'm starting to do this, like scratching. You're like, I got to do it. And I was like, maybe I'll just never be an OC again. Like I want to, but maybe it'll never happen. like you said, so I became the O-line guy. Went to the next school, I was the run game guy. Came to here, I was still the run game guy. Everything run game came through me. Our OC stepped down to take a different coaching job in a different sport, and head coach is like, "You're ready. Let's get you back up there." And I took those bad experiences. Our head coach is awesome. He's very involved, but he's like, "We're gonna do what you want to do, but I'm here for conversations. I'm here if you have questions. Let's get this figured out." The only thing he said was, "Don't pass it 50 times a game." And I said, "Okay."
We can do that. Yeah.
He said, unless that's what it's there. That's what he's about. He's about like, hey, if we cannot run the ball for the life of us and we win the game by passing the ball, cool. If we win throwing the ball 10 times and running it 40 times, cool. He's like, but I want to run the football first. That's his only thing is I want to run the football first. And I looked at him, I said, you got it. I can make it I can make it work. And so just sometimes you learn more from those bad experiences than the really, really good ones.
And that's the thing. Like, I've never been a head coach, so I can't say like I know. But if you want to be the dictator and you want to be like, you have to do this, you have to do that, then why don't you just do it? Right.
Right.
I've always had that mindset. Like, if it has to be your way, I understand it's your program, wins and losses go on your shoulders. But if you want to dictate what happens, then just do it, right? Which side of the ball can you live with not being controllable, right? Because you can't do it. You can't do that. You can't be like, hey, I'm gonna have 100%, emphasis on this one and 100% emphasis on this one. Like, well, then you probably need to go to a small school and just do both.
Right.
You have to give up some. Now, of course, like you just said, your head coach, right? He's gonna be involved, right? He's gonna let you do you. He has, run the ball first, all that stuff. That's great. Right, and he's still involved. You have the conversations, but he's not, he's not like, Steve, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. If you don't do it, we're going to have an issue. Like, that's not how you do business, right? If you don't trust the guy, then why'd you hire him? Right. So that's my opinion. And like I said, I've never been a head coach, but that's where I've ever been, where it's been like a good cohesive group of coaches. It's always been that way. Like you got to have that trust.
Yeah, because he's a defensive guy.
Yeah.
So my first year there, or my first 2 years, I think he called the defense, and then me and the offense coordinator, we just did our thing.
Yeah.
Then he handed it off to somebody else so he could kind of not control, but like oversee. And he took a big step into special teams. Like, this is what he'll do. Let everybody else do this. This year, same thing. We have a DC, him, me. I'll have my assistant coaches, but all my assistant coaches are outside the building. So that's why he is taking that step more into offense, because he's like, my job as a head coach is to fill in where this is happening. So we're both in the building. He goes, you see something, you have a question about something, you want to look at it from like, how is a defense going to react to this? This is where I come in. He's there to like give me ideas. He's there to like, and he's been really good. And he's like, in the summer, it's all you. He goes, yeah, he will never point something out during practice. He is very good at, let's do it after practice. He's a North Central guy. He that's what their coaches do. And he goes, he learned a lot from that, which makes me feel comfortable. But my problem is, my parents taught me you listen to the boss, do what the boss tells you to do, So he actually gets annoyed. I sent him a text one time. I was like, hey, I'm coming up for defensive breakdown. I want all these coaches to do this. I am looking for this. I'm looking for this. We haven't done in the past. Can I do this? He responded with like, shut up and do it. He's like, you don't have to ask me. And I'm like, yeah, but you're the head coach. I want you to know.
Like, I'm the same way. Yeah, and I hope I don't get on my coach's nerves. But I'll ask a question like, hey, is this okay? Is that okay? And like you said, like I was always raised that way. Like, hey, you got to, respect authority, right? I'm not just going to overstep. And he's like, Tatum, you're good, man. Like, I trust you. Like, I know you're not going to do anything that's going to like embarrass the program or do things like that's not like right or anything like that. And I'm just like me, I just want clarification. Like, hey, I have a great idea. I'm not asking you to have involvement in it. I just want you to be like, hey, you're good to go. Run with it. And I'm like, awesome. I'm going to do it. But I don't know. Usually it's like little things. I'm great with initiative. Like, I'll just do it myself. But if it's like wholesale things, I'm like, yeah, I want to make sure you're good with it because I don't want to get halfway in it. And then you're like, wait, what are we doing? So yeah, right. I'm definitely like, let me know if I'm good on it. And he's like, dude, you're good. Just do it. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah, and the only time he doesn't get upset is, like I told you, we went to North Central yesterday. I got to meet with their OC for like 2 hours, which is awesome. I came home. I'm typing up my stuff. I text him like, "Hey, I am doing this. I am doing this. What do you think?" Those type of stuff where I'm dipping into the offense.
Yeah.
Because his job, I told him his job is to make sure that, because I think we all do this. I come into it going, I want to be simple. I don't want to keep adding things. But what do we all do? We all move too fast on install, or we see something we like and we're like, this does fit into what we do. Let's do it. His job is to make sure I don't fall into that. If I come in and I say, I saw this really cool thing that Alabama did on Saturday, I think it fits to what we do. And I'm very good about not doing that until like week 3 or 4. You start watching, and his job is to be like, Steve, what are you doing? And then, or his job is going to be, cool, we can do that, but what are you about to take out? So his job is to kind of keep me in check.
Yeah.
And
it's an air raid Mike Leach deal. Like, yeah, that's great. Love it. What are we taking away?
that's exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. And that's why, to try to help me not do that, I created a manual of like, this is what I envision the offense looking like this year. Then I have another document where I said, here's other run plays. Like, you just type every run play you can think of. You type whatever that kind of fits into what you think you are. And so I told the coaches, like, if I want to do outside zone, if we come in, we don't have this, we get rid of it. And if there's another run play you think we can do, we flip-flop it. We don't just add it, right? Like, I put my foot down at this number of plays, put my foot number down at this pass plays. And we're just going to rep them. We're going to rep them. We're going to rep them. We're going to rep them. And I told the coaches, I don't want to hear week 5, hey, I think we could really do power read against this team. It would work really well. I would look at it like, we haven't done power read in 5 weeks. We don't practice it. I'm not putting it in this week.
Yeah.
At all. That's what I don't want to, because that's happened in the last couple of years where this would work really well against this team. And I'll tell the coaches, you're right. This probably would work big time, but we're not going to do it because I'm not going to install something on a Tuesday and hopefully by Friday it's good to go.
Yeah.
Even if you have a state title winning team, you're not doing it.
Yeah. The worst is when it's on game day. They're like, run the sluggo route. Like, they don't even know what sluggo is, right? or they're like, do this, do that. And I'm like, where was this great advice on Sunday during the game planning?
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't happen for us now. It happened in the past, but I'm like, yeah, it's especially, if you have the personnel for quarterback run game, like, you should have those things in. But if you have a statue at quarterback, don't ask me to put reads on a run. Like, I love reading stuff on runs, but don't ask me to do that. And my quarterback, if you got in a race with a pregnant woman, he's coming in third. Like, don't tell me that. Like, it's not going to help us out. So, yeah.
You're like, yeah, you're right. That would work if we had Vince Young or something. That would work.
Yeah, well, sure.
And guess what? I did that too when I was younger. I did the same thing. So now going into it, me and the head coach put our foot down. We're like, if we see something that could work against the team, but we don't have it put in, do we have anything put in similar, whether it's motions, whether it's moving the formation, whether it's doing this, and we figure it out from there. And we're going to be really big this year on. We were bad at, and I take blame too, and I don't know if anybody else does. I take blame for forcing the run games of, like, I'm watching a team and I'm telling myself, because it was 1 year, I think 2 years ago, I was like, wide zone may not work this week because their nose guard is massive. And I think he's just going to break it. I think it's going to, and I remember saying, like, I don't think we should do it. But then we kind of forced it. We did call it a couple times. And I told the head coach, I said, this year, if we come in and we say we cannot run this run play or this pass play this week, tell me. That's your guys' job, is to tell me, and we're not going to practice it then. Mm-hmm. I don't care if we come in on Friday and they go, oh man, it would actually work. Okay, we said it wouldn't. We have to live and die by what we have. So that's a big thing. I'm going to have to take a step back and be like, I cannot force things that aren't there. I can't. I mean, like, you could try and practice. Like, okay, if we this formation will work better this week with this run, like whatever it is. And but as you know, as an OC, I don't think people realize this either. You have to coach up your assistant coaches too, of like what you want, but then also try to get their input. And that's why it's a collective work thing. And that's why, especially football, it's the biggest co-work collaboration there probably is ever.
Yeah, we don't meet on Sundays. We do early on. That's what people are like, you don't meet on Sundays. We do early on. Like last year, I think it was like week 3, we stopped. But there's nothing wrong with meeting, right, and watching film and doing all that stuff. But we have a Google Drive, a Google a Word document, and every coach is responsible for certain things. And so you got to make sure that stuff gets in there. And if things don't, then there's a conversation that needs to be had. Or you're just not on the game plan, right? Because my head coach and I, we're good on picking up slack. Like we're really good at it. Because at the end of the day, it's him and I. So, but our offensive staff is awesome this year. And so we never had any issues of getting stuff in there. And so we didn't have to meet, right? Because like we knew what we were going to do. We were really good at certain things. And so we're like, hey, maybe we're going to install this. And it's never, like you're saying, like never a wholesale change. It's like, hey, this is a tag off of a route. This is, a tag on a run. It's a new formation, stuff like that. And so we'll just go into it like, okay, cool. This is what the defense is going to do. Yeah, I saw that as well because him and I get on just like this on StreamYard. I have it, so we get on here, we'll talk. And so we kind of let the assistants know on Monday, right? If it was anything different, they know about new stuff that's been installed. But if there's anything like tweaked that we've collaborated on, like we'll let them know and we get it in. So yeah, but having a document for everybody to go in, like, hey, receivers coach, you need what coverages are they in? Like I already know, but I need you to know, right? So go figure out what coverages they do. Who's their best corner, who's their best safety? Are they a field boundary team? Do they flip their secondary stuff? So he's developing, he's watching film, he's recognizing certain things. And I choose the receiver coach as an example because he's 21, so he's young cat. A lot of energy, really good guy. He needs to develop too, because you're not just out there, doing pat and go and routes on air. Like we need you to develop as a guy as well. So as a coach, and so that's what we do. The defensive staff is a lot more in depth, I think, because they have a lot more. They got chart the defense. They got to chart what your run plays are, your pass plays, your formations. Your tendencies, where you're going to do things in certain areas of the field. Your shots, at timeout, all that stuff. So it's a little more intensive. So they do meet in person. But it's a lot more they got to do. But it's a whole topic. Meeting on Sundays. Do y'all meet on Sundays or meet on Saturdays or how it works?
We'll meet on Saturdays.
Okay.
Like at the beginning of the season, we meet on Saturdays, and then as it goes, it kind of turns into meet if you need to, or do you just get on the phone? Do you get on Zoom? Do you just fill in the Google Doc? Because or if it becomes a situation where coaches can't meet on Saturdays, do we figure out just to get on a Zoom on Sunday? Because we've done it a couple of ways. Like last year or the year before, we didn't meet at all, and our head coach is just kind of big on, why don't we just get it done? Why don't we just sit and watch film together for an hour, get a general idea of what we're doing, then we break, and then by Sunday night, with this new document I made of like what I want the coaches to do, I need that information Sunday night, because my job then is to fill in the whole week's practice plan. Like we want everything filled in, and we want it filled in so that way if Tuesday's practice is bad, I can adjust the Wednesday plan.
Yeah.
We don't want to type in Tuesday and have nothing typed in for Wednesday and try to figure it out. Especially when you got coaches outside the building. What if they come up and say they can't be there? Then you have to, like, it's just a big deal.
And it just goes to being prepared and organized.
Right. And our head coach is big on that. He's very big on, because he has so much, like, I've never been a head coach either, but watching him and all the stuff he has to worry about, I can't believe he's organized, because his mind is all over the place of like fundraising. What's my budget? What do I have to buy here? I got to make sure the coaches have this. oh, the coaches didn't take their concussion test for the state of Illinois. I got to get that done. I got to work with the youth program. Then I got to, what about the jerseys this year? What about the gear this year? Oh, summer camp. Are they signed up? Where's that money? I got this mom calling me. I got the AD, like, and he has 4 kids at home. So then on top of it, he's like, I'm surprised he's organized at all with this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
And so watching that, that's why I did everything this year of like, I want it organized. I want it simple. So I think we'll meet for like the first 3 or 4 Saturdays. And it's kind of a way to, with these other coaches, if we're watching film together and I'm sitting there saying like, okay, this is how you'd fill this in. This is where I want to see. And they get comfortable with it. Then we can stop meeting and just kind of, hey, you know what? Let's not meet this Saturday. Go hang out with your family. As long as Sunday night, I get that stuff. Or even Monday morning by like 8 a.m. so I can get it all typed in. Cool. Like whatever it takes.
Yeah, that's 100%. And we always ask at the beginning of the year, what day's better? Like when we start out meeting, what day's better, Saturday or Sunday? And I'm like, let's meet on Sunday, please. I'm a huge college football guy.
Yeah.
So like I want my Saturday to be, I turn on game day, 9 a.m. every my wife knows. She's like, I get up and like, she's like, game day. I'm like, yep, I'm going downstairs to watch game day. And like, I'll get my computer and I'll start watching the next opponent, right? And while they're up there talking and I'm breaking down. Usually I'm good to go. I have an idea of what we're doing, by the noon game, and then I'm just watching film, right, while the game's on. So that's my Saturday routine. Sunday, I'm a Ravens fan. Like I love them, till I die. But I can watch any college football game that comes on. Doesn't matter to me. But I usually don't watch every NFL game. Like I usually watch one per time slot. But I'm flipping back and forth college football, so I'm a little more engaged with that. So yeah, we're definitely like, hey, let's meet on Sunday, 100%.
I'm the same way. I can watch any college football game anytime. NFL, I'm unfortunately a Bears fan. Unfortunately, I guess, but I only watch.
Y'all on the come up.
I've heard that so many times. It looks like it though. We finally got the head coach. You finally got this. I mean, it does, but I've heard this before. But we'll see. But my wife knows too. Like, so here's the rule. I try to be nice. I have to have my University of Illinois game on Saturday somewhere.
Yeah.
I said after that, unless it's a big primetime game, if it's a big time college football game, it's on TV.
Yeah.
If not, I have 2 laptops. I have my work laptop up and my personal one with some game on while I'm doing whatever. Or I'll have my work computer to do film, personal one with the game on, iPad with the game on. And she goes, what are you doing? I was like, I'm trying to watch college football. She goes, how can you watch 2 games at one time? And I'm like, it's taking a lot of years and a lot of skill.
Like you remember when I'm watching the offensive line and I've got all 5 of them. It's the same thing.
It's same. But I'm the same way. Like NFL, I have to watch my Bears every Sunday. And then if there's a big prime time, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
If it's that's the only time. NFL, I can't do it. It all looks the same to me. I like college football because there's so many different things going on. I think it's more coach led. The NFL is what it is. I'm the exact same way. So when we meet on Saturdays, when 11 a.m. hits and we're still there, you see all of us just pull our phones out and put a game up.
Yeah.
And the head coach is like, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're watching, we're working, but we also have, Michigan, Ohio State on right now. So we have to put our phone up or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, one place I was at, we had TVs in our coach's office. And we had, there was going to be a game on. Doesn't matter. It's when we were, when I was at Virginia Beach, we met on Saturday morning. And so we would have the college game on. And so, yeah, like if I can have a game on, that's cool. But if we're in the meeting and we're watching film game plan and we don't have to get the games on, let's just do it on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, we'll never meet on Sundays. Because our head coach has 4 kids, another coach has 4 kids. He's like, Sundays, no. Yeah. He goes, Saturdays, I'll bring 2 kids with me. Like, it's okay. But it's the same thing of like, once we get to 11 a.m. to noon, we're just all kind of looking at each other like, can we go home and watch college football? Or our running backs coach played at Penn State. So if it's 11 or 12, he goes, "Hey, Penn State's on, man. I want to watch them."
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit there and tell him no. Like, yeah, go home, watch it. You know,
Especially this year because they're gonna be pretty good.
what was it last year? Illinois played Penn State. I'm an Illinois guy. He's a Penn State guy. So all that week, just kept talking smack to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And Illinois almost had it. I don't care. It was 21-7. It was because the only smack talk I brought up was, "Hey, remember that 9 overtime game that Illinois won?"
Yeah.
No. He knows. He's got the insight to Penn State. They're going to be pretty good. He was a starting running back there. He had a cup of coffee with the Bears, so he knows. He's like, yeah, they should be pretty good. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think Illinois plays them this year. I don't think so. I think they'll be pretty fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think Illinois is going to be pretty good. I mean, like, there's always that. Indiana was the last year. There's always that one Big Ten team that whether it's favorable schedule, they missed the Big Three or Big Four, or anything like that, or they beat quality opponents. They're always a Big Ten team that always makes it.
They're the dark horse right now to make the playoff. They are. They brought back the most starters, so that's awesome. I like what Bielema's doing.
Yeah, Bielema's a good dude. I met him once. He's a good dude.
Yeah, last year during the spring ball, they always do a clinic for like 2 or 3 days. I couldn't go because it was the week before our spring break, so there was no way we could ask for time off to go down there. They'd be like, your spring break's coming up.
Yeah.
So that Saturday, Coach Miller, the O-line coach, was like, hey, just come down Saturday, watch the practice. I said, cool, because my parents live down there. So I was like, cool, I'll just visit. Drove down. You got to be on the field. You got to walk right up to the drills and do whatever everywhere.
Yeah.
And at the end, I went up to Bielema and he goes, hey, Coach Bielema, nice to meet you. How's it going? Blah, 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 blah. And I said, Coach Ashton Trail. He goes, oh, yeah, Ashton Trail, you guys play this. Like, he knows everything. He's like, oh, yeah, you guys play this team, this team, this team, this team, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, hey, you know this player, like he knows everything. You're just like, oh my goodness. And there was a couple former U of I players there watching, and I went up and talked to some of them, and they were like, we are just so impressed. And I was like, so what are you guys impressed with? Like, what's so different between when you played it to now? And they were like, this practice is a well-oiled machine. Like the way it's ran, how efficient they are. And because they played under like Ron Zook and stuff, and they're like, they go up to Bielema with me and they're like, man, we wish we could be playing right now the way you have this going. And he almost couldn't take a compliment. He was like, yeah, but we got a lot of work to do. We're this.
It's the coaches, man.
Like he said, yeah, but during this one segment, they screwed this up. Like, and we're like, really? We didn't notice. He goes, oh yeah, I could tell. And it just was never.
Yeah. That's the thing about head coaches. They're extremely it's crazy what they know. Right. And like I went to NC State and Dave Doran was the exact same way. And he was like, he knew like we had the year I came in, I came in 23. So in 22, we had a quarterback, Bryce Baker, he, transferring to a bigger school, and like they were heavily recruiting him. And he's now at Carolina. He was like, yeah, Walkertown, yeah, the Bryce Baker kid, this and that. And, like, great guy. Like, this is crazy what they remember, what they know. Like, they have to know everything. Like, I'm sure they know random schools that they recruit a kid, and they know like all these names, and they also remember the random reporter on the left side of the media room, and they know his name, all this stuff. I would just be like, I don't know. But I went up to him. I was like, Coach, appreciate y'all for beating Carolina the last couple of years, and he was like, we got you, man. So my brain capacity could not do it.
No, and I talked to other people like that, and they're. Or like the North Central had a camp, and you see a coach, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember seeing you on YouTube." And I was like, "That was the big honor." I was like, "Oh, thanks."
Yeah. That is. I'll ask you about that. So, do you get recognized at clinics and stuff?
A little bit. What sucked the last couple years is Chicago. Like here in Chicago, they host 2 glaciers. Mm-hmm. It never fails that I have basketball games going on. So I go for like a speaker or 2, and then I have to leave. Like I can't go Friday night because I have a game. And those are the best, is when you're just hanging out. Like Sometimes I have, not really, or like yesterday. So the summer is my big podcast time because I have time, they all have time. So like yesterday, I sent a message to a college O-line coach, and he responded this morning saying, "Sorry, I didn't get back to you." Blah blah. And he goes, "Yeah, I've seen your stuff," and I'm like, "Oh, like, cool. All right, I'm a nobody. Cool." But it's word of mouth too, of like if you
Yeah.
get college. And what's amazed me about this whole thing is the amount of yeses that I get. Um, I've gotten like 2 no's, which is fine. They're just like, no. And I'm like, cool. Or they just don't respond, which is fine. I get it. But I would say 90% of the time it's a yes. And you try to make it work.
Yeah.
And I don't, I thought like, you probably have too. These Division One guys, they're just like, yes. And you're like, what? Really? Cool.
Yeah.
Like, I think the first time I was like starstruck was Bart Miller, O-line coach at U of I, because I'm a U of I fan. When he said yes and I got him on, I'll never forget. He's like, "Hey, I got 30 minutes because I got to talk to a recruit." And I was like, "Okay, cool. 30 minutes."
Yeah.
We get to 30 minutes. He goes, "I'll give you 10 more minutes." And I'm like, "This is awesome."
Yeah.
And you're just like starstruck. And then now I get other Division Ones on, and I'm still a little like I'm messaging some right now, and I can't believe they're saying yes. I'm like, I'm getting starstruck. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's an awesome feeling. Like usually I'm DMing for like the coaches clinics that I do, and we're doing one in the end of June, and so I'm right now like I have a lot of high school guys, which I usually prefer high school guys because it's more relatable. But I always like to have some college guys in there, and having the week that I chose. And I don't know if it's an excuse. I'm trying to give them benefit of the doubt. I don't know if it's just an excuse or not, but like it's a big recruiting weekend for me. Like it's bigger this. Like, okay, cool, I got you. But yeah, whenever I get a yes or like, yeah, I'm super pumped, let's do it. Yeah, it's definitely that's dope. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But I know my O line went in January. We were supposed to have Jeep Wade at Georgia Tech. That was huge. Ended up being their junior day. Is what it is. He couldn't make it. But then NC State's assistant line coach, he picked up the slack for me. He did an awesome session. And then ended up going to a spring practice at State, and he was like, "Coach Tatum," and like literally like brought me down. Like he was just like it wasn't closed, but like for that spring practice, you could only be it was spring practice, but it was a recruiting weekend, and so like recruits couldn't go on the field. I think they couldn't go past a certain line.
Yeah.
And so, but he was like, "Tatum, come on." So I went over there and was in with the drills, and that was dope. So yeah, definitely that's some of the best connections you can make, man.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say now. Yeah, but all these college coaches, I'll say something about coming. And they're like, "Yeah, just just let me know. Come to a practice. We'll let you on the field." And I'm like, "You can do that?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure, whatever." He go, and the funny part is, they'll be like, "No offense, we're not recruiting your kids. You can come down." I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine."
I ain't got nobody for you, so it's cool. Yeah.
One of our strength guy interned at Northwestern for like a year. So the kind of a sad thing, the year that the stuff happened with Fitzgerald, it was that summer or it was that fall. They started in August. We went to a practice, and he walks up to us, and that was a real like, oh my God, Pat Fitzgerald's walking up to us right now. Yeah. And he talked to us for like 10, 15 minutes. Just a normal person. That was the year they were going to Ireland to play. Mm-hmm. And I was he's Irish and stuff. I was like, yeah, my wife's 100% Irish. Her dad's from Ireland. We were talking about that. And then he goes, "Hey, here you go." Gave us the practice script, practice plan. Wow. He was like, "Bounce around wherever you want. Here's the order we go down." They were doing their warm-ups. They had the GPS thing on their shoulder pads, asking about that. And then they broke. We went in there, and then at the end, he goes, "Hey, go sit in the meetings." So I went and sat in the O-line meeting. And then he goes, "You guys want to see the weight room?" He brought us up to the weight room. Their strength guy came out with the no sleeves on. He's awesome. He's an awesome dude. And then all of a sudden the media comes, and Fitzgerald goes, "I'll be right back. I got to go to work." So he goes and talks to like the media for like 10 minutes. Comes back. He goes, "You guys ever need anything, let me know. Maybe we'll try to catch a Addison game and blah 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 blah. And you're just like, what?
Yeah.
You're not recruiting our kids. And he was like, yeah, but we still like to show face. It's cool. And then that's when the whole stuff happened, like that season or the next season. I don't remember. So I got asked a lot, like, what did you see when you were there? And I'm like, guys, here's the deal. When I was there, every assistant coach was top notch. Pat Fitzgerald had nothing but respect for us, and we're like nobodies. Like, he had nothing but the utmost respect. The players, when the practice was over, came up to us, all of them, and said, Coach, thanks for coming. Coach, thanks for coming. Coach, thanks for coming. I walked through the damn locker room and nothing, and this is probably like going to get me in trouble. I didn't see any sort of like whatever. And I said, but that's all I can say. Like,
Yeah.
And I could probably say it legally because nobody's told me I can't. But I'm like, guys, he was nothing but top notch, respectful. The place was awesome. I'm an Illinois fan, but I was like, realistically, I kind of like Fitzgerald now. I kind of like whatever. And it was just sad the way that went down because what I saw, I was like, it was awesome. Like, they were all normal dudes.
Yeah.
Like,
that sucks. I like Fitzgerald. I've never met him, but definitely just listening to interviews and stuff like that. It definitely seemed like a top-notch guy. And I was at AFCA. I forget what year it was. He was like one of the speakers at AFCA and was like super awesome. So I hope he gets another opportunity. I don't know if he ever will, but or if he wants one. So
I think so. His son was going to Loyola Academy up here, so he volunteered for them when that happened.
Imagine.
Yeah, his son starting quarterback, and then somebody saw him on the sideline. I guess he was volunteering, like, hey, I'll help coach you. And I'm like, oh, that would be nice. That's awesome. Have Fitzgerald.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Coach, I kept on here for a long time. I want to end it with this. Like, you talked about yours. What made you want to start like a YouTube and start doing this? Like, what kind of made you decide to do that, and like the vision that you wanted to take it?
Yeah. So starting out, it was January of 23. Like I said earlier, when we were at North Rowan, we were very, very really good at offense, right? We had all those guys that had records, blah, blah. We were really good running the ball. And so one of my buddies was like, you should just do that. Like, you should do the YouTube thing. And I was like, I don't know. I'm an introverted guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm an offensive lineman. I just really just do my job and go.
Yep.
And so, he was like, nah, dude, y'all were really good. And, like, y'all ran the ball really well, and your offensive line played really well. And I'm a humble guy. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I'm just like, yeah, we were okay. We're good. Okay. And they was like, dude, you were out there. I was actually really good. And so I was like, okay. And, I've always been a clinic guy. Like, I'm a huge clinic guy. I go every year. Like I said, I go to AFCA. Like, I fly out. It's really like with my head coach, North Rowan, Nigel Pearson. He is a huge AFCA guy. He was a college coach. He knows everybody. And so hanging with him is awesome because you meet a bunch of people. And so, I was like, well, okay, let me just first video, I did it. We thought it was GT and GH counter. And I was like, all right, so let me just put it out there and see what kind of response they had. And I've always had like a good following on Twitter, just talking to coaches like that. And so I had people to give it to watch. And so I had a really good response. And people were like, dude, that was awesome. Do another one. And just the way that I explain football, people like. And I'm like, I'm not doing it any type of way, guys. Like, this is the way I coach my players. Like, especially when you coach at a Title I school like we were, and kids, they need help. A lot of them are on IEPs, 504s. You got to be able to present it in certain ways, and so just my teaching style of it appealed to coaches. So the next one, like I did a counter, and then went to passing. I did stick, then I went back to power series, and then we just started doing scheme, right, back and forth. And people loved it, and so I just kept doing it. And then it really evolved to doing clinics, giving coaches a way to speak and doing their own individualized videos, because not everybody can start a YouTube channel, but they want to be able to just talk. And I wanted to learn, right? I want to get better and develop. And so some people are like, what if nobody ever watches your stuff? Like, it's cool because I'm doing it. I'm getting to watch it. I'm front row seat the whole time. And so that's what it's kind of evolved to. And so obviously we still do scheme stuff along with my Twitter. We make a post every day from like when we're in season, not as much. With off season, summer, we make a post every day on Twitter, whether it be run game, O line, general coaching things. And so that's kind of what's evolved to is helping O line coaches and run game. That's kind of our niche that we've kind of found ourselves in. If we do a personal post, it's O line and run game. So, and then we do our all day clinics, which is probably the best thing that we do, if I'm being honest. In January, we do our offensive line coaches one. And this past one, we had 3,000 coaches signed up online, 100% free, 100% online. It's 8 to 8. It's a grind for me, but coaches come on 30 minutes at a time, and they just giving out just free offensive line content. And then in March, we do a coordinator one, offensive and defensive coordinators come on and talk. And then now we're doing, the first time we're ever doing one, we're doing one in the summer, June 21st. Give a shameless plug real quick. June 21st, we're doing the Trench Mob Summer Clinic. And it's O-line coaches, but it's geared towards the summer. Because I get a ton of questions, I'm not going to lie to you, a ton of questions about, hey, coach, what does your summer look like? What are you doing with your guys, right? You're not really hitting yet. You're doing a lot of fundamentals. What does it look like? So we're having a clinic based off of summer. Would it be fundamentals? Would it be install, technique, all that type of stuff? The baby steps to get into the season type of stuff. So it's going to be great. It's not as long. It's like 8 to 6 probably. But yeah, definitely the best thing we do is our online clinics. Because like I said, it's long. It's plenty of content. It's all free, and it's all conveniently there for you in your own home. So, yeah, but the YouTube journey has been great, man. We're at 3,000 subs, man. We're just, we're grinding. As everybody says, we're trying to steadily moving up. And so just trying to help the game of football grow, specifically O-line and run game.
Yeah, your YouTube channel blew mine out of the water. I was very impressed. Because mine's a hodgepodge. You found it. That's my problem. Like, you found a niche, and that's what works.
Yeah.
Mine's a hodgepodge, and one day I'll learn to not be such a hodgepodge. But
there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, but that almost, that's kind of like your niche. Like, you do that. You have the speakers, and you talk about sports, and you talk about this and that, and that's kind of your deal. Like, I wouldn't run from that. I wouldn't hide from that. I would embrace it. I think, and I know a lot of people, you've had on. I know a lot of people that watch you, and I've always been like, if you're like, what's a sports or like a coach's show podcast type thing? I'm like, Coach Steve, man. Like, I have a rundown. Like, I love like just sports, right? So I love all my coaches deals, and you're in that group, man, that I have saved and favorited on my YouTube specifically. And I try to help, right? I'm hoping, I'll retweet and I'm sharing out everything I can, man. I'm trying to help you out, man. So, I want to see people do well. That's who I am. So, but I love what you do, and I wouldn't run from the hodgepodge. I like it.
No, I appreciate it. I try to do that for everybody, but sometimes I get lost in the sauce of my X algorithm just bounces around so much, and it's right now it keeps going to politics stuff, and I can't stand it. I'm like, why is my algorithm all this politics stuff? I want it to be. So then I have to go find sports stuff and like, and try to get I hate the algorithm stuff of trying to get it back. Yeah. Because I was doing very well for a couple of years of if it was your stuff, Mackey's stuff, whatever it was, trying to get it out there. Mm-hmm. And then it just turned into in the season, we just have no time. We can't. And I do all 3 sports. So you think the winter, I could. I'm like, nope, I do basketball. I don't have time. Yeah. And just kind of. But my problem is, and maybe you could talk me out of it real quick. You do scheme stuff, like you talk about. You're doing clinics. You're doing this. You're doing that. I started to do that, but then I just felt like people already know this stuff. Why would they watch it? So then I kind of stopped. You can steal this idea if you want. It's a playlist on my YouTube channel. I called it The Simple Offense. So I remember the first video I did was, do you guys even know what techniques are? Like, is there a young coach that even knows what a 1 technique is, what a 2I is? Because when I played high school football, I didn't know. We weren't taught that. We were taught A gap, B gap, block this guy. Like, that's what we were told. Then I remember getting to coaching, and they're like, get the 1 technique. And I even remember going, like 19 years old. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because there was no, it was AOL dial-up internet. We couldn't just, you know. So I remember doing that, and that video got a lot of views. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm on to something. And then the more I was doing it, the more I was like, this is too simple. The people know this already. And I just stopped. And I want to get back to it this summer, but at the time I was like, I have a playlist, simple offense, simple defense. So I was trying to do both.
Yeah.
And
I think for me, like I said, O-line is my deal. So, and this is, I guess I can kind of let this out. So this summer, I'm recording more drills. I'm recording more stuff because what you're saying is it's the best. That's what people want to know. Like I just did a video on the go-go, and I think the reason that video blew up is because of Brendan Marion. Everybody loves him. And then I did a video on how to handle a 4 technique on counter. It's specific. It's not half slide pass pro. Like, okay, yeah, I know half slide pass pro, but if you talk about how to handle a 4 technique, that's a problem. People need to know how to figure out that problem. Just like you just said, techniques. If you're a new coach and you're like, what are these techniques? Most people either going to Google or go to YouTube. So if people can figure it out or find your stuff, they're like, oh yeah, okay, techniques, got it. Head up, inside shade, outside shade, I got it. Cool. My thing is I did that on my usually stuff like that is for my Twitter. Because I put like my OL manual, it has all that stuff in there. I did do a video on gaps and techniques, and that did very, very well. So you're 100% correct. Yeah, simple football, simple offense. I love it. One of my best videos I've made is advice to new and young offensive line coaches, because I get questions all the time. Coach, where do I start? Coach, what drills? Coach, what this? And so like it's like it's a holistic thing about what advice that I wish that I had. So now moving into the summer, I'm going to have more individualized things like what you're talking about. And I've been recording my drills. My kids, I'm like, I usually have my O-line, and I'm like, who wants to be recorded today? And they're like, because all of them know I do a YouTube and social media. And they're like, I guess me, right? So now and honestly, I'll be honest with you, they do it 100% better when they know they're being recorded. So they buy into 100% to the technique. And so, yeah, but I'm kind of silently kind of bringing that. It's kind of going to be my fall stuff, have them scheduled to go long to be posted throughout the fall. So I don't have that drop off, because I had a huge drop off last year in the fall, because I don't post scheme stuff during the fall. I just don't. And so I want it to be more technique, more fundamentals and stuff like that. And then obviously have my interviews and stuff that I do during the fall.
Yeah, I'm going to get back to it this summer and get people on and do that. But
yeah,
you took it and ran with it, and it blew up, which is awesome. Like, I'm not the person that's like, screw this guy. Like, yeah, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, I wish I could blow up like that. But then there's that part of me that was like, yeah, that's good. Like, you know what I mean? It's just the competitiveness that talks to you, and you're like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, I wish I would have. But like I told you at the beginning, I feel almost bad asking coaches to come on and do scheme. I'd rather just talk to them. Now, I did a clinic for the first time ever, and it was like the winter or spring, kind of like what you do. I had coaches come on. And it did okay. But like those type of situations, they're signing up for it. They're like, yeah, I will come on. I had them pick their top. I think that was the part that killed me, was I wanted them to pick a topic. I said, I really don't care. And that kind of killed me a little bit. But the coaches that did it took initiative. They were like, oh, I want to talk about how we plan our defense, not the scheme, but like, how do we pick what we're going to do and stuff like that. Another coach, and like, yeah, here's our coverage. And I just let them do it. I don't pick it for them.
Yeah, that's my thing. I have speakers being like, what do you want me to talk about? I'm like, I'm not going to put you in a box. So if I tell you, if it's my O-line one, and I tell you to talk about power, and you're not 100% bought into that idea, it's not going to be as good. So what do you have film of? What can you talk about, and what can you show and really teach us? And they're just like, oh yeah, let's do it. So yeah, don't put them in a box. Don't tell them what to do. Just usually, and like I said, I have, I go 8 to 8 So 30-minute segments, that's 24 speakers.
Yeah,
And
that's a
so
lot.
and so usually I can usually cover everything, right? And
Right.
usually, and once I usually put them in, I put them all on a Google Doc, and I have them put in what they're going to talk about, and they can kind of see what everybody else is doing. And so if I see a bunch of gap scheme, most guys will be like, okay, well, I'll do EDDs. All right, and then it starts to fill in EDDs. All right, I'll do pass pro. And so it kind of filters out to spread everything you want to talk about at a clinic naturally. But I don't want to tell somebody what to talk about because one, they won't be as bought in for it, or they won't be as prepared because they don't have the presentations. Because most of the guys, I like to give new people time to speak. I don't like to do repeat guests, or my coordinator one is more college guys I try to get, but usually the O-line is more like high school guys because we don't have college O-linemen. We don't. I don't have a backside tackle that can reach a 3 technique. I don't
Right.
but a college guy might. Well, that doesn't help me, right? So so just trying to keep it relevant, and that's a big thing we do. I know big names usually draw big crowds, but I haven't found that. I feel like relatability has drawn more. So it's all trial and error.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Coach, I've taken a lot of your time. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you. Keep it rolling, man. Like I said, I'm a fan. I watch. I appreciate the good people doing stuff like this. And I'd love to get you on mine. Right? We don't have to do we can talk about whatever, right? And
yes, sir.
We can talk about some scheme. I'd love to learn some stuff that y'all are doing as well.
I'm not smart, so I don't know if I'll teach anything, but I don't know much, but yeah, for sure. But thank you so much.
Yeah, man.